Hi, good morning or afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Business Central and barcodes, where we're going to primarily cover off WMS Express, but we will cover off a few other topics within the presentation as well. Now, if you want to use WMS Express, when you first do the install, when you install it, it'll pop up the setup wizard, and it'll ask you which configuration you want to use. We call these versions, but they're configurations. And you will have to choose which version you use based on how you've configured Business Central. So if you in Business Central don't have any of the warehouse documents turned on, like if you're not using a warehouse pick or an inventory pick or any of those sorts of things, you would just use a standard. And then I'm going to be able to, ship against sales orders and receive against purchase orders and things like that. If you're using inventory putaways or inventory picks, like you've got those already set up in Business Central, then you'd use the basic warehouse. And if you have warehouse picks and warehouse receipts and all of those sorts of things turned on, then you'd select the warehouse option. Now, one of the limitations is you can only have one version installed at a time. So if your main location is a full warehouse location, that's what you'd install. But that doesn't mean you can't use that in maybe one of your retail locations as well. So your warehouse is set up for full warehousing, but I can still use WMS Express in a store as well to do receiving or something like that as an example, even if the store isn't set up for warehouse. Okay, so that's a little bit on the configuration. When you first install, it'll prompt you. The selection you make here is going to be entirely dependent on how you've got Business Central set up. With that, let's jump in and actually see what this software looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Business Central here and talk a little bit about how the thing is set up. So when you first install WMS Express from AppSource, it'll come in and it'll fire up the setup wizard, and it'll come in and automatically create a, sort of initial device configuration for you, which says, hey, I'm using this in my main warehouse or whatever it is, those sorts of things. And it'll set all the defaults. But you can come in here and change a whole bunch of things. And this is very similar to what Warehouse Insight has, where you can change what happens when you scan a barcode or what type of barcodes you want to be able to scan and a whole bunch of different things here. But you really don't have to worry about most of this. What will happen after you run the setup wizard? It's going to come in here and it's going to pop up this installation report, right? So it'll pop up and it'll automatically have a bunch of this stuff filled in. Actually, I'll leave that for 2 seconds. And it's going to generate this PDF or this report that prints out that you're going to use to configure your devices. So what it's done here is it's grabbed my initial configuration code here that I've set up in the setup wizard. That all sort of comes in automatically. The rest you can mostly ignore. Now, the one thing I'll mention here, this authorization, we use OAuth. That's the standard for Business Central, which means you have to log in with the same type of login you log into Business Central, right? It's going to be your email address and your password, and your two-factor authentication is going to kick in, that kind of stuff. Now, when you get into set up with us, we can help you set up device licenses where you're logging in with a device license, OAuth, and those sorts of things. But when you're first testing it, you'll just use your account to log in. And then what you have the ability to do is use these, what we call InsightWorks user logins. What that means is every time I pick up a scanner, I don't have to log in with my username and password and do the two-factor prompt and all that kind of stuff. What I'll do is I'll log in with a separate InsightWorks user. And in this case, I've got one defined called Mark, and I've got a password set for that person. And that's what I'm going to use to log in. So you can have, sort of one initial OAuth login with a device license ideally, and then you can have multiple people using that device, and they'll log in with a much simpler mechanism. They'll just specify their name and a simple password to actually get into the device, or actually just scan a barcode to get into the device. All right, so anyway, after you run the setup wizard, when you install WMS Express, this thing's going to pop up. It's actually going to just generate it automatically, and it's going to give you a few barcodes to scan. So it's going to allow you to scan this on your device to actually install the application. Once the application's installed, you're going to scan this device to configure it, and then finally you're going to scan, that barcode to configure it, and then finally you're going to scan this guy to log in to that device. Pretty simple. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you the devices that I've got on my desk here. So I just threw a bunch out here. There's a ton of devices that we have. This one's got no physical keypad, but there's a slip-on pistol grip, so it's kind of nice and ergonomic, right? You can easily scan. Something like this is a more rugged device, 10-foot drop spec, long range, all that kind of goodies, right? I personally like the physical keypads. These devices tend to be a little more money. Lots of people are going with a sort of phone style device, right? No physical keypad. This is the one I'll be using for the demo today. This guy is sort of a hybrid, and there's a bunch of different manufacturers with that type of option where you have a physical keypad and sort of a touch screen, right? So here's a different brand, similar type of concept, right? All right, so this is what you get. Now, what I've done here is I fired this guy up, this little Memork. This is actually one of my favorite devices. It does tend to be, it's a slightly older model. It's a little slower than the newer devices, but for $700, swappable battery, replaceable battery, rugged. It's a pretty cool little device. But what I've got here, and I bring it up. Oh, and we got the mirroring disconnected. It just disconnected off the Wi-Fi there real quick. We'll just reconnect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens when you first start up WMS Express. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to back up one level here. Just get right out of there. When you first install it, it'll actually fire up as Warehouse Insight. You know why? WMS Express is built on the Warehouse Insight platform. It's just a scaled down version of that platform. And so now what we've got, when we first started up, it says, hey, scan your configuration barcode to begin. Well, that's the one I showed you on the screen. This is what we'll print out. So I'm actually going to scan that configuration barcode right there and configure this thing. So I scan the barcode. It goes, great, I'm configured. I now need to log you into that environment. And this is where you would actually go in and sign in with your OAuth authentication, whether it's a device license or a full user license or whatever. This is where you actually sign in with OAuth. Now, I'm not actually going to do that. What I'm going to do is pretend I've signed in and done my two-factor authentication and everything else. And after I've done that, what I end up with is this screen here. I'm just going to minimize that. So I end up with this screen here. And this screen pops up because I've said I'm going to use that separate InsightWorks user ID. So now every time I come in here, I can just enter Mark and the password I defined, which was I think 1234, or I can actually scan that barcode to log me in. So that's kind of handy. What you can do, get rid of that glare, is there's what we call a badge report that you can print. So I just printed this, and this is intended to be like on cardstock or you laminate it or whatever. And then you can have these barcodes that people can actually scan to log in. Now, these aren't secure, right? Like you don't want to have, people's formal passwords in there or anything like that. But this is a great way for people to just scan this barcode and identify who they are to log into the system. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my device here, figure out which one it is, and I'm just going to scan this barcode to log in. And away I go, and I'm logging into WMS Express for the first time, and it pops everything up for me. Now, this image that you see up at the top here, that guy can be anything you like. So I just put this WMS Express logo up here. This could be your company logo. This could be, picture of the person that signed in potentially, right? You could put pretty much anything you want up at the top of this screen here. So, if you're a partner, you can put your partner logo in there. You can put your company logo. If you have a different configuration for different people, that can go up. Anyway, you can change the image, is what I'm trying to say. So at this point, these are the applications that I've got available to me in WMS Express, right? As I mentioned, we've got inventory count. So you can either use the basic count, which is just a physical inventory journal, or you can use what I've got set up, which is our advanced count application. The advanced count is a separate subscription, but if you've got that set up in Business Central, WMS Express will automatically use the advanced count instead. And then I've got the ability to do receiving, bin-to-bin or location-to-location movements, and shipping, right? And in my case, this is going against a location that's got no warehousing set up. So I'm receiving against a purchase order, I'm shipping against a sales order. If I had the warehousing set up, I would have the ability to do warehouse picks instead of looking at sales orders. And I might do a warehouse receipt and a warehouse put away in here as well. So depending on what you've got set up, there'll be potentially different icons or different behaviors. But again, in my case, I'm in a location that has no bins, it has no warehouse documents or anything like that. It's a very basic location configuration. So what you might see in a retail store or in a small warehouse or something like that. All right. Now this more button here, that just tells you, if you want more, go to wmsfordynamics.com and away you go. Now there's also a bunch of other options I can set here. I'm not going to get into it in a lot of detail, but you'll notice on this one, because I don't have the physical keypad, it pops up the virtual keyboard. Again, I kind of like the physical stuff better, but that's entirely up to you how you want that to work. Now, on here, there's a bunch of things you can set. And one of the things I'm going to set, well, first of all, on the device, you've got a bunch of options for font sizes and all sorts of fun stuff, and logging people out automatically after a certain period of time, and those sorts of things if you want to, sort of secure the device, those sorts of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into barcoding here. And I will mention that when you set up the devices, we prefer using something called the Android intent. And there's some articles on our knowledge base to set that up and to show you how to do it. But ideally, you get a hold of us. If you purchase the hardware from us, we will help you get all of this stuff set up. We'll support the configuration of the hardware and everything for you automatically. We want this set up because that's the best way to do it. And if you do this yourself and you set it up yourself, and the most common way that people do it if they set it up themselves is they use the keyboard wedge, because that's how a lot of these devices come preset. Well, if you do that, a lot of the times those keyboard wedges send an extra enter key after they scan the barcode. That's bad. That's going to make things look like they're not working on your handheld, because you're going to scan a barcode and it's going to do weird things. So if you notice when you're scanning barcodes, it's doing weird things, it's probably because this isn't set up right. Get a hold of us. We'll help you out with that. Okay. But what I actually came in here for was to turn on the camera. So this is the first time I've turned on the camera, and it's saying, hey, you need special permissions to turn on the camera here. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to allow Warehouse Insight, Warehouse Insight to use the camera, or to use the overlay that we need. And now I've enabled the camera capability, and I can just determine which barcodes we're allowed to scan using the camera. So these are all the different barcodes that we support on here. I would just use the defaults. So what I've done is I've turned on that camera capability, and the reason I did that was just to show you, if you're installing this on a phone, how that will look. And now, because I don't want to scan in every time, I'm just going to say remember me, but I'm going to scan my barcode again to log me into the system. Oops, I scanned the wrong barcode, sorry, I scanned the wrong barcode there. Scan the barcode, log me into the system. And now what you'll see up at the top is we got this little barcode, or this little camera dude here. And this thing allows you to just sort of drag and drop that to wherever your thumb is most realistically going to sit. And now I can tap that to actually use the camera as a barcode scanner. So if you're doing this on a phone, or if you notice using the actual barcode scanner on the device is doing weird things, turn on the camera and you can use that to scan barcodes. So if you want to test this out on a phone, enable that camera capability, and I can now scan barcodes with the camera as well. And again, just move this wherever you find it most ergonomic, and I can just tap it to scan. All right, enough of the setup stuff. That was boring. Let's see what this thing looks like. So the first thing I'll do is I'll go into receiving. And by the way, that was really easy, right? I covered a lot of ground there, but basically you run the setup wizard, it generates a few barcodes you scan the barcodes, the thing gets installed, gets configured, you log in, and really, if you've done this before, it's 5 minutes to get that set up and running. Maybe the first time you do it, maybe the first device you do takes you 45 minutes to do. After that, it's a few minutes per device to get set up and running. And I'm ready to start barcoding. It is that quick and easy to get to this point. And we're connected directly to Business Central. There's no integration or separate stuff you need to do. As soon as I open up this receiving thing, that's going out, and it's going out to Business Central. And the first time it's connecting over the web services and everything. And it's getting all the purchase orders in the system that I can receive against. Simple as that. I don't have to do anything else, right? And now what I can do is I can just select one from the list, or I can come in here and type in part of the PO and it'll filter it just like you'd expect, all that kind of stuff. I have the menu up here that I can use, the choose button if I don't have a physical keypad and that I can just hit enter on, I can use that. Or I can just double tap that line and it'll open up the purchase order that I need to receive. There's everything I need to receive on that particular purchase order. And now I can just start scanning. And again, because I don't have bins enabled, it doesn't show me the bin column or anything like that. But if I did have bins, it would show me the bin column, all those sorts of things. And you do have the ability, oops, let's see what I'm doing here. You do have the ability to come in and do this choose columns. So if you want to see additional information, I can come in here and I can make different information available or on the screen or hide it. If I don't care about unit of measure, I could hide it, those sorts of things. You know what? I'm just going to move this guy up into the top there so you can see. So I can hide or show columns on the device. Now in WMS Express, the columns that are there by default, those are the only ones you have access to. In Warehouse Insight, you can add all your own custom columns. You can do whatever you want. You can tailor these screens to look pretty much exactly the way you like. But at this point, I can just start scanning. Like if I'm receiving stuff from a vendor that has barcodes on it, like UPC codes or GS1 or their own custom barcode, I can just start scanning and I'm good to go. Now, if you need to do your own barcoding, what I can do is I can come in here and I can hit print. Now, I don't have the print button enabled. That's just a menu you can enable. And I can hit print and I can print out barcodes for these items that I have selected on the screen. So that's just a custom Business Central report. So you're just working in Business Central, you're creating your label report or using one of the samples, and it'll spit it out on the printer by receiving. And to do that, what you'd probably want is our print node connector tool. And the print node connector is free. You still pay a company called Print Node $9 a month or something. And then I can hit print on the handheld and it'll spit it out on whatever printer I've set up for that label or that report. So if you do want to do your own labeling, you certainly can. Now, for me, everything is coming in pre-barcoded from my vendors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you the barcodes I'm scanning here. So here's an example of some of the barcodes. This list of barcodes was generated from our barcode generator tool, which is also free. And I'm using what we call these data matrix codes. These are square barcodes. If you're doing your own barcoding, this is handy because they fit a lot of information. And if you make them larger, like if I make this, an 1.5 inch square as an example, I can scan that from 50 feet away with the right scanner. So it's great for pallet labels or whatever, bin labels, those sorts of things. But we don't need to use these barcodes. You can use whatever barcode format you like. There's the typical, linear barcodes, those sorts of things. I scan away and I'm good to go. And just to show you what that looks like, I generated that list of barcodes from our barcode generator tool. It's got the sample barcode list page in it where you can come in and build up all your own test barcodes and things like that. But the barcode generator tool also has the ability to extend existing reports, or you can create brand new reports with whatever label format you like, right? So I use this all the time for, printing these sheets that I can scan for testing or demos or whatever you like. All right, after that, let's go back into this. So now we're back here. I'm going to start receiving. I'm coming in here. I'm going to scan, this first barcode, this 1908-S. That's this guy in the middle. I don't have to know what it is I'm scanning. I just scan the barcode. It'll find it in the list. It can optionally show you a picture of that item, and you set the timeout on it. I think the default is 10 seconds, which is way too long. But you can set the timeout to whatever you like. And that showing of the picture is really nice if you're doing your own barcoding, right? If I scan that and it shows me a picture of a blue chair and I've got, I don't know, underwear or something in my hand, I know I've got a problem in probably more ways than one. But I know I've got a problem with that data. And I can fix that error before it propagates out into the warehouse and into shipping and all those sorts of things, right? So that visual verification is kind of handy. You can turn it on or off as you see fit. Now, what it did was it brought in my case, because I mentioned those scan behaviors way back, I set up the scan behaviors. Well, the default is it brings in the remaining quantity on that line to receive as the default. But I can set that up to, bring in 0, and I always have to type something in. Or I could force it on this type of item to scan every single item that I receive. So I'd have to scan 20 times. So there's all sorts of things you can set up. Same thing with the unit of measure we use. Could be the purchase unit of measure, or the unit of measure on the purchase order, or the base unit of measure. Whatever you want to set as a default, it can come in. And if you have alternate units of measure, I don't. But if I had alternates, I could select the unit of measure from here as well. And there's a little calculator too. Now, in my case, I'm just going to say, let's say I found 14 in that particular box to start with. Well, that's updated Business Central already with that 14. We know we've scanned that in. We're ready to receive those 14. And somewhere else, I have 6 more to find. So later on, I come back, I scan that guy again. And again, it might show me the picture. And let's say I found, 5 more, and away we go. And it's just going to keep incrementing my quantity to receive and reducing the outstanding quantity. So simple as that. I scan a barcode, optionally enter a quantity, and I'm good to go. Okay, really quite straightforward. All right, now that's the receiving side of it. And we support, well, actually, I was going to mention this in shipping, but I'll mention it here in receiving as well. We support lot numbers, serial numbers, all of those sorts of things as well. So if I'm in here, now I've got, a couple of boxes here of things that I can receive. And these are clearly, different styles of vendor barcode. But I've got those set up, and I can just come in, scan that. It'll find that item in the list and let me specify the quantity. And by the way, there is a setting that you can actually hide anything that I've fully received, right? If I come in here, I could actually hide anything that's fully received, or I could leave that line on there just saying 0 required. Now the second item that I've got here, this one actually has a serial number associated with it. So when I scan the item number, it'll find it. Oh, no, this is a good example here where it's saying, hey, I couldn't find that particular item because I actually scanned the serial number by mistake instead of the item number. And it's saying, hey, which barcode does this represent on the purchase order? So this is really handy because if I scan this vendor item number and we've never seen that barcode before, it lets me create that cross-reference right here on the fly while I'm receiving. And this is just a configuration setting. You can turn that off if you want, but you can do that. So the reason that happened is because I didn't actually cover up. What I'm doing is just covering up the serial number with my thumb here so it doesn't scan that by mistake. You can set up these devices so that it uses, like it won't actually scan until you've positioned the red dot on the barcode you want to scan. So if you do have, barcodes that are very tight like this, you can set it up so that I can point the red dot at the one I want to scan, let go, and it'll scan that specific barcode. I don't have that turned on, so I just cover that up with my thumb and scan it, and now it comes in. It found it, recognized it, and you'll notice it's not actually prompting me for the serial number at this point. The reason is because in Business Central, I've got it set up so that when I receive items, I don't have to specify the serial number. You'll see I'm going to scan that same item when I ship it, and on shipping, I want to capture the serial number. So it uses all the configuration you've already got in Business Central for how you want to manage items, serial numbers, cross-references, all that kind of stuff. So once you've got Business Central set up the way you want to work, like using the handhelds is nothing. I spend 5 minutes to do the setup, and I'm good. I can now barcode and use Business Central the way I've got it set up. Now, when I'm done on all of this stuff, I can actually post the purchase order directly from the handheld device, or force people to go into the office and post it from there. Okay, and here are a couple other quick little things. I don't have to have barcodes to do receiving or to do picking or shipping or anything else. I can just select a line and do change quantity directly, right? So I could say, you know what, I want to receive some of these 1906-S guys here. I can tap on that guy and then just go in, and if I have a physical keyboard, I can just hit enter. But I can come in here and I don't have to scan to receive anything on here. Or if I want to come in here and type in the item number, I can do that as well. Instead of scanning it, I could type in the item number to find it in the list or the bin or whatever else. Okay? So you don't need barcodes to use the handheld devices to do receiving or shipping or anything else. At any rate, I'm done with my receiving. Let's go in. Maybe I receive it, maybe I do some movements in the warehouse to put it away, those sorts of things. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to ship it out. So I've gone in, I've got some sales orders that I actually want to go out and pick and ship directly from the handheld device. So I'm going to go in there, open up the shipping screen again, first time it's going to connect. and it's going to bring in a list of all the sales orders that are either assigned to me or open. So you'll notice at the bottom we've got something assigned to me. Well, you can set it up so that it only shows me the list of orders that are assigned to me. That could be purchase orders, sales orders, picks, whatever you have in the system, or show me a combination of anything that's blank and assigned to me. So I can just choose one from the list. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose this the second sales order in the list here, because that's the one I've got in my hand. I could have just scanned the barcode on that sales order as well, by the way. If I've printed out a pick ticket for that sales order, I could have scanned that and it would have just brought up the sales order automatically. And now it's giving me the list of the items that I actually need to pick and ship for this particular order. So great, I'm going to go out, I'm going to grab the box, I'm going to scan the barcode. It's going to go, yep, it's that guy. I'm going to go, yeah, I got 2 of those, even though I have 1. But now we've indicated we're going to ship that. And then this first item, that's this guy with the serial number again. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to scan that the item, and now it's prompting me for the serial number. Now, in a lot of cases, that serial number can be in the barcode, right? So if you've got a GS1 barcode, or if you've got a custom vendor barcode or something like that, if that serial number was in the barcode, it would have pulled that out automatically for me. That also applies to lot numbers, package numbers. So if you're using the new package number capability within Business Central, all of that can be defined in the barcode, and we'll pull it out into the screen. Now, because this particular package had a separate barcode for the serial number, well, at that point, I just scan the serial number and I'm good to go. And I've just captured what I'm shipping. I've verified that I'm actually shipping the right product instead of some other, cardboard box that looks very similar to this. I verified I'm shipping the right product, and I've captured the exact serial number that's going out the door. And if I want to see which serial, and you can have 10 serial numbers on that line if you like. If I want to see the serial number that I've scanned, we can come in here and it'll give me a list of all the serial numbers, lot numbers, package numbers, whatever we've scanned in for that particular shipment line. All right, so pretty straightforward. Same thing. I come in, scan some barcodes, optionally enter quantities, and I'm good to go. At this point, again, I could go in, I can hit post, and it will post that that shipment, and away I go. Or I can go back into Business Central and use Order Ship Express or Dynamic Ship to actually get that out the door. Okay, so that's as simple as that. Now, the last thing I'll cover here on the functionality is the inventory count. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the count. Now, what I've got set up is the advanced count. The basic count, which is what comes with the system. So the advanced count, again, you have to go in and install the advanced inventory count app from AppSource. When you do, it'll give you what you see here. If you don't do that, you'll get something called the standard count or basic count on the handheld device. It looks and works exactly the same for the most part from the device. It's just using the physical inventory journal instead of what we call count sheets. So you would choose a batch instead of a count sheet, but it works otherwise the same as what I'm going to show you here. So there's 2 ways you can actually use the system. One is you can predefine a list of items to count. So if you're familiar with the physical inventory journal, you'd go in there and you do calculate inventory or calculate count period. It'll give you a list of items you need to go out and find and count, populate that physical inventory journal, and you can start scanning, right? It'll give you a list of items to find and scan. Or you can do what I've done here with this batch or this count sheet, where I've left it blank. So you can leave your physical inventory journal blank, and I can just start coming in there and scanning everything I find. So that's great for full physical counts, right? I just walk out and I scan everything I find in the facility, and I'm good to go. If you're in an environment like I am here, where I don't have bins defined, right? So I don't have a way to differentiate, oh, I found 10 of item 1 over here and another 5 of item 1 over there. Standard Business Central doesn't do that, especially in the physical inventory journal. If you're using the advanced count, it will do that for you. So great for retail locations, or if it's a smaller warehouse or whatever where you're just using shelf numbers, I can record the shelf number I counted it at, and I can count that same item in multiple places, and the system will automatically combine those quantities, allow me to do recounts by the location I found it in, all of that sort of thing. Okay, so that's the advanced count that does that. The basic count is just a physical inventory journal. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this count sheet. And again, that if you're using the basic count, that's just going to be a physical inventory journal batch. In my case, it's actually an inventory count sheet. And now again, because I don't have bins, I'm just going to scan the item. It tells you at the bottom what to do. I'm going to scan the item and enter the quantity. So based on what you've seen so far, if I give you a scanner right now, you'd be able to actually go out and do an inventory count, because it's just scanning an item and scanning and optionally entering the quantity for that particular item. So let's do that. I'm going to grab my sample sheet here. I'm going to scan this item. It's going to optionally show me the picture. I say I found 58 over there. Done. That's it. I've counted that. If this is the physical inventory journal, this would be on that physical inventory journal batch. In my case, it's on a count sheet, but same concept exactly. And then I walk up and I scan, a guy with a lot number. And well, this one doesn't have lots enabled in this particular environment. I don't have to actually count the lot number. It did bring it in, but it's not a mandatory thing. So that's just there for informational purposes. But if this was an item that had lot tracking built in, that would force me to verify the lot number as well. And when we're dealing with the advanced count, what that will do is that'll reconcile at the lot number or serial number level as well. But that's all there is to the inventory count. You scan a barcode and you enter the quantity you counted, and you just keep doing that, and away you go. Now, if you use it the way you're used to, where you go in and you calculate inventory and you get a list of items, well, it's exactly the same. The difference is now when I open it up, here's the list of items I need to find and count, and it's exactly the same though. I scan the item and then I enter the quantity for that item, and it works exactly the same. The difference is now it's just telling me what to go out and find and count. And as I mentioned, if you do have bins enabled, or if you're in an environment where you want to actually record the shelf number you've counted that item at, you can actually do that. I can make that visible, and now I can also tell people where they need to go out and find it, and I can also allow people to scan the shelf number they found something at. So all of that is available within the system. All right, so that's basically the software in a nutshell. That's how it works once you've got it set up. Very easy to set up, very easy to use. Once it's done, you can use a phone or a dedicated device, and you're good to go. All right, so I'm going to end that, and we're going to go back in to the PowerPoint. So that was all cool, and I said it was so simple and easy to do, but chances are you might want some help getting it set up. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. One, and side note, that was pretty much the full functionality on WMS Express, other than it'll work with warehouse picks and warehouse putaways and inventory putaways and inventory picks and all that stuff if you have that set up. So I didn't show any of that, but it supports all of that, supports lot number, serial number, package number, all that stuff throughout the system. So it'll do everything you need to do within those applications or within those functional requirements. If you need more, you can look at Warehouse Insight. And regardless of whether it's Warehouse Insight or WMS Express, we have a couple of different options for helping you with that implementation. One is just time and materials. So if you want to try this on your own and you get 90% of the way there and you just need a little bit of help, an hour or two here, you can get a hold of us. And depending on what it is, we'll bill you for that implementation time that we help you with. If it's just sort of product questions, I'll point you off to our knowledge base. You can use the forum. Our support people, monitor that forum. They'll answer your support questions through there, everything else, and doesn't cost you a thing to get that type of support. But if you need implementation help at time and material, we'll definitely help you out. Typically, if your partner is one of our resellers, that'll all sort of go through your partner, but we will, we can do it as a time and material basis. The other option is fixed price. So we have two of those. We have rapid implementation. That's going to be for larger projects, things that are a little more complicated, things where you may not be sure of how you want to set up Business Central, or maybe you're changing the way you set up Business Central to accommodate more advanced warehousing, those sorts of things. That's where we'll get in with this rapid implementation. And it's fixed price, and it's not that expensive at all. You can check with your partner. It's actually very cheap, relatively speaking. Well, not even relatively speaking. It is cheap compared to what a typical WMS implementation would cost you. We also have this quick start, which is really good for WMS Express and for Warehouse Insight if you meet the prerequisites. And the prerequisites are, you're on the cloud version of Business Central, which you have to be for WMS Express anyway, you're already using the inventory or warehouse capabilities within Business Central. In other words, you already have warehouse picks turned on if that's what you're planning on using, and you're already using that. So you're using Business Central the way you want it to work in the warehouse. All you really want to do is add some additional barcoding capabilities and some of the other things that we've talked about today. And again, you don't need to change those processes, right? Like you're not in a situation where you want to go to barcoding and turn on bins at the same time. For that, you would do the rapid implementation project. But if you say don't have bins turned on and you don't want to turn them on, perfect, then you're a candidate for this. And you have to have one of those devices that I mentioned earlier, right? So we're not going to help you with Quick Start if you're running it on a phone or some $100 device you found off eBay or something like that. It's got to be a decent type of device. And so what we'll do on those quick starts is we'll go in, we'll do the device installation, the configuration, so your barcode scan properly, everything else. We'll do training, we'll do the support, all that kind of stuff for you under that quick start. You can go to the website, dmsiworks.com/quick start to get details, but the quick start is $1,500 fixed price, and you'll get up and running literally within a day or two, and you're good to go. Okay, so you can try it yourself first. If you don't make it, you can either do the time and material, or it might be a few hours, or you can just start out right with a quick start. We'll get your devices set up, we'll get you trained up, we'll get everything working, and you're good to go. All right. Now, for more information, you go to wmsexpress.com. From there, you can jump into the support. There's a support link on there. You can jump in there and go to the knowledge base. So the knowledge base has, user guides on sort of the stuff I just showed you. It also has some installation information, things like that there that you can use to help get set up. Also how to configure the devices with the scanning intents, all of those sorts of things as well. And that's also where you can find the forum where you can ask questions and get answers from our support personnel within that sort of public forum knowledge base area. Okay. And on the website, you can also get tons of videos. There's demo videos. There's all sorts of things you can look at. And there is also a comparison matrix between WMS Express and Warehouse Insight if you're curious what else Warehouse Insight can do versus WMS Express. And of course, if you have any questions, there's a chat box on there, or contact your partner. If they're one of our resellers, they'll hopefully be able to help you out with any of this stuff. All right. With that, would like to thank everybody for attending, and hope you have a great rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and remember to hit that bell icon to stay updated. See you in the next video.